Finally, Bungie has delivered on a lovely piece of content, and I'm talking about the Exotic Quest. It's nice that we finally got a piece of content that sort of resembles the Dead Man's Tale quest from Season of the Chosen. And what makes it even nicer is that we actually go up to space. We actually go back to one of the Braytech space stations and get to explore a little more of it. There are a few hidden things that I've noticed when we were actually running through this, such as hidden hallways and whatnot. So it does kind of give me the impression that there is more to come of this line, not just what we've experienced so far. But as always, if you haven't tried this mission out yet, I would highly recommend you do so, and then come back to this video because there will be spoilers within. And yes, I will first acknowledge that there is recycled content in this, which is the operator, scanner, and suppressor buffs that you can get within this mission. Obviously, these are taken straight from Deepstone Crypt, but in all fairness, these are more like a learning curve to the Deepstone Crypt. Because when you actually go through this mission for the first time, it gives you in-depth explanations on how these buffs kind of work, which is a really nice sell for the Deepstone Crypt if you haven't ran it already. And honestly, I would kind of want Bungie to do this more often, because obviously on day one, it is expected that everyone is going into a raid blind, but if Bungie were then to complement it by making some kind of small mission like they've done with this one, to actually teach you the new mechanics so you can go into the raid experienced, or with a bit of know-how how to go about certain things, it would be quite nice to see. But let's talk about the entrance and obviously getting up to the space station itself. The entire kind of entryway, I'm going to call it, it's kind of like what we've experienced so far when it comes to actually doing the missions every single week, because you have to go visit the Braytech site anyway, so it's nice that they've actually played that into it. The only difference being this time is that we actually get launched up onto the space station. But just like every other good mission, there are also secrets within the space station, the first of which is being the little drones that you can see floating around every now and again. And if you're using the scanner perk, much like you could do for a Triumph back on Europa, when you have the scanner perk, some of these robots will flash like a yellow colour, and you just destroy them in a sequence and it will unlock a secret chest at the end of the mission, which is quite a nice little addition to it all. And whilst I'm making this video, there are obviously secret doors that you can get behind, probably later in the season when we've unlocked more of the story missions, because there are locked doors within the space station, and these are going to be unlocked with a perk that you can get from the Exo back on the helm. What exactly these are going to do, I am not entirely sure at this moment in time, but I'm under the impression that if you unlock all of the doors, then some of them might house little secrets that will unlock the final locked door at the end of the mission. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. The entire encounter as a whole is filled with some nice, neat little puzzles. So for me, it's quite nice to go around with Operator, actually exploring the space station and opening up locked doors to go further into it. And of course, there's probably the most notorious puzzle of the lot, which is the room that's got a grid on it, and if you step on the wrong plate, it locks up and kills you instantly. Obviously, with Scanner, you can see which terminals that you need to activate, and also the floor path, which is quite useful if you're navigating with a team, because then one of you just basically calls out what the plates are and the other one can go through the path. But on solo, you kind of have to pre-plan this because your augment deactivates as soon as you walk through the door, which makes it a little bit harder to do, but obviously not impossible. Talking about the two bosses of this mission, they aren't exactly difficult to deal with, especially the first one. The first one kind of just like appears and then you have to fight 3 Briggs off to start with, but when you actually get to him the second time round, he's not exactly a difficult boss. You just need to pump out a lot of DPS quite quickly, and that boss is dealt with. The final boss, however, is one of the captains Eramis used to have back in Beyond Light, which is quite a nice surprise to see them back. This is now the second one, I believe, that's been revived in some shape or form, so I'm under the impression the others will come back as well. But much like with Tanix in the Deepstone Crypt, the boss fight pretty much plays out very similar, albeit this time round you just destroy the shield generators when you've hit them with suppressor, and then you can do a DPS phase. Do this 3 times, and then the boss is dead, and you can move on to get your loot. And much like I said earlier, this is also where you can get your bonus chest from doing the secrets within the mission. And it is worth noting that we did run this on Legendary, and I'm going to be honest, this wasn't too difficult to do. It felt like the same level of difficulty that we did the Witch Queen DLC in, so I'm not too annoyed by this. I actually prefer this, if anything, because it's not just senseless champions thrown into it. The enemies are tougher, and at the same time, your light level is capped, so there is a degree of added challenge to that, and the shanks are merciless when you're on this difficulty. And to be honest, I'd like to see Bungie incorporate this difficulty more, because it feels like a different type of challenge compared to actually dealing with champions. Yes, the champions do offer an added challenge, but I think most of us can kind of agree that just throwing in champions for the sake of it gets a bit tiring and repetitive. Not to mention you actually have to abide by the mods then, because you have to prepare in advance for the type of champions you're going to go up against. So this way you can actually run any build you want. And as an added nice little thing, you can swap on the fly, so if you do end up wiping, you can swap your weapons around and you don't have to restart. But overall, I'm actually quite pleased with this mission. It's nice to see something like this finally come back into Destiny. It's long overdue. I definitely think there should have been something like this for Season of the Plunder, because that is definitely what it was lacking. But like I keep saying, I'm just really concerned that this season is going to burn out in the next month or so, because whilst we've had this enormous content drop now, in terms of the Dawning, Moments of Triumphs, and all this seasonal content on top of it, the dungeon, and also this new mission, there is literally going to be nothing towards the end of the season now. But as always, I'd like to hear what you guys think about this mission. Was it really good addition, or was it kind of just repetitive? And obviously, if you liked the video, remember to leave a like down below. But that is everything from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video.